Today, what we're going to be looking at is something slightly different. I'm going to give you a small little window into, the way that I work, the way that I do commissions for people, and the way that I go about my design and creation process, especially since I consider, concept art character design to be one of my fortes. So we'll start off with this one that I did for Jordan Hampton, the writer of The World of Uneshi, Heart of the Ijeya. The brand new book came out only um, this year if you're watching it in 2025, and yeah, it's to hopefully give those of you who are either already just working in this or are hoping to one day work in this sort of capacity an idea of how exactly the process works, or how it works for me anyway. So let's start off by having a look at where we started. So of course the first thing that we started off with was him sending me a pile of information about the character. I want to know everything about the character, how they fit into this world, how they interact with others, how they look, um, the way they dress, all the background information that helps you to understand the world a bit more. And because, of course, I'm also creating the aesthetic for this world to some degree, because there is no imagery from before, um, I need some information about the books, some information about what he was drawing on, just as much as possible. So, just an advice for any person doing this sort of design work or this sort of illustration work, you want to get as much as possible. And also, when it comes to the commissioner, and if you are the client, then yeah, we need as much information as possible. Just literally flood us with information. I mean, Jordan gave me a book to work with, which was great, and I'm still making my way through it. Very good book, and I'll include the link down below. But from there, I was able to get a feel for what this world was like. I knew, for example, that we were looking at a place that was going to be very focused around African and the sub-Saharan African design, um, and would be drawing on lots of different areas there. No particular countries, um, but a sort of huge swathe of countries, a massive region, and that's actually quite open. So hard in some cases, but easy in others. Either way, I jumped straight in with the character's design, and he mentioned a certain type of clothing, so I went straight in and started putting together a mood board. So of course, I'm focusing mostly on getting designs that are African, but at the same time, I also need to recognize that this is a book written in the West, and that a lot of our visual understanding and a lot of the visual understanding of his audience is going to be one that's slightly aligned with the West. So I do also include some, um, you know, things like these, which are a bit more Western in their influence and in their design, just so that hopefully I can marry the two and make it something that's a little bit more palatable to us who are used to certain designs. I know not always great, um, but I think rather than jumping straight into purely African designs, which not necessarily alienate the viewers, but will make it a little bit harder for them to read. I think that we need to strike a fine balance. So yeah, mood board first. Um, Looking at different robes, looking at different types of trousers, looking at different types of vests and tunics and even belts as well. Of course, loads of searches were happening. This was just some of the main stuff that I was taking for my own reference. I'm a really big fan of, the way that robes can be differently hung. We got stuff from Nigeria here, stuff from the Maasai in Kenya, I believe. Yeah. And also the Kente cloths from Ghana, all that sort of great stuff, and more modern stuff, which is sort of more Pan African. Now, after that, the scene was set, I could start putting in my initial designs. So, here's some initial designs. So, I put together three initial designs. These are just initial sketches, not too much detail, but enough that, my client can look at it and be like, all right, I like where you're leaning towards, or I don't like where you're leaning towards with this. So, you see, I did three quite different designs, but that still hit the brief. And for those cases where he said, "Oh, I want a certain color, like purple or gray, or or even like the skin color of the character," there's loads of variations within that. So I try and push with each one. You notice that each purple is slightly different. Here's a cold, more grayish purple. Here's a slightly more middleish purple. Here's a much stronger bluish purple, and just sort of testing the waters and seeing if anything triggers approval, I guess, or pure rejection. from the client. So start off with these three, and in the end, I got feedback on that, and the feedback led to me taking a bunch of notes and just applying it to the drawings themselves. So I also reviewed them myself and said, hey, I don't actually like these certain parts of it and think that they could be done a better way. So I went in, made some notes, put down what hair he liked, what skin color he liked, what sort of face he liked, and then I could move on from there and start getting closer to that final product, that final design. So after this, I made these changes, combined them all into one design, and ended up with this. All right. So we got a close up of the face. We've got the design with all the different combinations and things I did in from before, and it's still sort of a sketch version, but it's a lot more complete now. And the client was happy with it. He was happy. Jordan was very happy with this design. Me personally, there was something that kept bugging me, which was the scarf, mantle, hood thing. It's the only part of the design that's this color, and it's in such a small part of the entire design. So to me, it sort of looked like it stood out in a way that I wasn't really happy with. So I tossed around some ideas. He said, try them all. I did try them. I tried, doing specific harnesses and jackets and ways of connecting it to the robe. And I either couldn't make it work functionally, or it just looked too clunky, and also started turning it more into a too European looking design. So in the end, what I decided to do, and you'll see this in the next one, is I just decided to thread this color throughout the rest of the design, and it actually created a really nice balanced design where the colors were spread throughout. So for example, this color down here, these sort of bandages around the legs, we know that we see them up here. That's nice and balanced. Um, Grey is a neutral color, so it doesn't affect too badly. And to be honest, it takes up over half the body, or around half the body, so it works. And same for the purple; it runs from the top of the body towards the bottom, so it allows for balance. That didn't. All right, so let me show you what it looks like now that it's applied. All right, here we go. So here I've now applied it. You can see that blue here, and here, and this just stands out a little less now, especially with the tone and me feeding some purple from here into the shadows. You can see a bit closer on this one. It just makes the whole thing balance out a bit more and just blend together better for a whole sort of cohesive design. I've added on some extra details, and you'll notice within this one where we've got the pattern in the robes. This is actually a pattern that I designed specifically for it. I was given pretty free reign with how this pattern would look. Um, so once again, I didn't make a mood board for this one, but I did go into research and start looking at, how can I bring aspects of West Africans, particularly pattern work into this, and I didn't want the pattern to overtake the entire design. It's not super clear here, but there is actually writing on this. It's from the language that Jordan created for the series, or one of them, because he's creating several for them. I don't know how he does it, but it's very impressive. But yeah, there's a written language on here, so I didn't want it taken away from that too much, and I didn't want it dominating the entire design. So I went for a very subtle design. So here's the design close up. This, I just replicated it multiple times, turned it into a pattern on Photoshop. I think I do have a video on that, so feel free to check that out if you want. It's similar to designing brushes. But yeah, I created the pattern, and from there I was able just to overlay it and infuse it into the design. So just jumping back to this final design concept. At the moment, I've only got front and back. He of course did commission side as well. I'll show you that later on. I just wanted to make sure that this was to his liking first before I went into side images. You'll also notice that I did a close up of the face. I did think it was important to have quite a clear look of how you know how his face looked, how his neutral expression looked. And this character is quite young, I think he's late teens. So I did want to get that, not too muscly, but still, looking like he's capable. Not too adult masculine, but still, a strong young man. And wanted to get that across so that we could imagine this guy in action. So at this point, client's super happy. let me carry on with it. So now's the part where I start to do the other angles. So we've got here close up of the arm from the side. We've got the side view with and without the robe on. You can see how the robe connects here. I've left the pouches off just so it's clear how this belt goes around. Pouches are pretty straightforward. We know how they go on, and to be honest, he might shift that around all the time within the book. He might add, he might take away, so that's fine. Um, but yeah, just adding more of these details in and making sure that it all works visually and that it's really clear what this character looks like, even how he stands. I wanted that sort of confidence that a teen who's very capable has, and this is a character who will become powerful with time. So it makes sense that uh, he has some sort of a strong, confident look. So yeah, that was the end product. That's how we went from, if I just jump back, these sort of initial sketches here or here, right through to that end product here. And it just starts with a couple of ideas, some details about a character, and then you just work it out from there. And it's such a fun process to do. Taxing at times, hard, a lot of Googling and reading and researching, but it's a part of the job that I really do enjoy. I do enjoy the whole building the visual library, creating worlds, because of course from this now I have the ability to build out the other characters from him as a base. The aesthetics, the look of them, the styling, it all starts here. And to me, this is part of the fun of this part stage of the process. Just having something at the beginning and working out from there. One thing I've also got to help me with that, I'm just going to move myself across. You'll notice that I've got all the swatches here, so that if I need to remake any other pieces or if I need to reuse the pattern, it's all here. And also, Jordan visually can see the patterns and stuff as well. So if it comes to a stage where we're making a character who wears similar clothes, then this will be on that sheet as well, and you'll see the way that they link together. And visually, that will be a cue for him or for whoever's working at the time. But yeah, that's basically the process. Hopefully, you find that helpful. Definitely go and check out the book. Like I said, I've included a link down below for you to go and buy it directly. It's available both digitally and physically. If you have any questions about this, or you want to see me do anything else, so for example, you want to see me explain how I uh, design any other characters or create any other landscapes or environments or clothing or anything like that, just let me know. As you can tell, I really enjoy speaking about this stuff, and I do think it's helpful because it enables those of you that are trying to get into this line of work, to get a taste of what we're thinking. This stuff does take hours. It takes time. And it takes it's taken years for me to refine my skill down to this point, and I've still got lots to learn and still got lots to study. So it's an ongoing thing, but it's an enjoyable one. That is all for now. So yeah, please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any other videos. Drop a comment below if you like this or want us to look at anything else in particular, and I think we'll leave it there for now. Thank you.